What's up, party people? Welcome to Saturdays and Seltzers. Last week, Sarah was not with us, and this week, Sarah is not with us again. If you don't follow her on Twitter, she actually got into a pretty bad car accident and fractured her skull, so go send her some love over there. But we do have Taylor Mathis back with me this week to talk all things football as the season winds down. You can follow her on Instagram at Shy Sports Chick and on Twitter. I'm going to get this right this time. T Math 11792.
Yes, you got it.
How are you? I feel like we haven't talked since like your birthday, really. So how are you? How was your holiday?
I'm good. My holiday was great. I just got back from Chicago really late last night, so I'm back in Arizona now. I'm working the guarantee rate bowl game tonight. So
Nice.
I'm super excited about that. But like,
Okay.
great. And I got to spend time with family. So that's always good.
Do you have a pick for your bowl game tonight, or are you a neutral party?
Oh my God, I'm a neutral party for sure. I guess I'll say Minnesota because I went to a Big Ten school. So
Okay.
I'll cheer on the Big Ten team, but like technically I'm very neutral in this. I don't really have a what did they say? Like a horse in the race or whatever.
Yeah, dog in the fight.
I have no dog in the fight. But I'm excited to go, and I think it's gonna be really fun. I'm doing stuff for my new job, so it'll be a good time.
I feel like as a Midwesterner, that's like probably the right choice as well.
Oh, exactly. I have to. Like, how could I I can't go for West Virginia. I'm like, I've never even been to West Virginia. So
Yeah. Okay. So this is your first high-low hero. I kind of explained this to you a little bit beforehand, but we do this segment called High-Low Hero every week, just because we do a weekly show and we kind of want to be able to like interact with our audience about like the week that we've had. So I'll go first just so you have an idea of how it goes. So it's your high of the week, your low of the week, and then your hero is like something unexpected that was like good that happened. So my high this week, I feel like I'm like kind of choosing a cop-out answer, which was like seeing my family, which is like, isn't really my family. Do you have any family that's like your family, but like not technically your family?
Oh, totally. Our family, my actual family is like best friend, our like family best friends that I grew up with. They are like, their two boys are like my sister and I's like brothers. They're like they're like my parents, my second set of parents, essentially.
Yeah, same. So I went to my best friend's family as Christmas, but they're basically my family because I'm so far from home, and usually like, you know how it is this time of year, you're always working. Right. So I never go back to Florida from New England just because like the time doesn't work out. So my high was being able to see them and being able to be loved by someone this holiday. My low was that I was in the car and was like talking about putting my iPod on shuffle and realized that I have an iPhone, and saying that sentence just made me feel so old that I was like, yeah, just put my iPod on shuffle. So I had like a real reality check this week. So that was my low. And then my hero, I don't know if you heard about this, but there was like a perfectly preserved, like 30 million year old like dinosaur embryo found. And I'm like, oh, Jackson's Bork of the week is happening early.
There he is.
I
love it.
There he is. Jackson Jeffrey. So I don't know if you saw that, but like the dinosaur egg was definitely like, oh my gosh, how crazy.
No, that is so cool. I didn't hear about that. I'm like dying that you said the iPod thing though, because I'm like, girl, I'm older than you. I'm like, do you remember when I don't even know if you would know about this, but there were like these little things that I think they were called like hip clips or something.
Yes,
like that.
A hip clip. I used to listen to them in church.
Yeah, and they had like the one song on it. And you could like play it. You'd like jam out to that one song on repeat. Like,
yes.
I remember too, I'm like, I was back with family too for the holidays, and my youngest cousin, Bella, is 11. And like, first of all, let me tell you, she did my makeup yesterday and it was like pristine. And I was like, when I was your age, one, I wasn't wearing makeup. And then when I was, it was like black eyeliner.
Blue eyeshadow.
Yeah, like I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, she like can watch these YouTube tutorials and TikTok, and she gets all this like inspiration. But I was laughing because like the thing she knows, like she doesn't even know what a CD is. And it's just like crazy to me. Although I did think it was cool. She's very into her record player, and my grandma gave her old vinyls of hers. So I'm like, she's getting like a little bit like, I'm like, all right, that's even older than CDs. Like she is getting a little bit sense of like the past when it comes to music. And she got a Prince album, Sound of Music, and Paul Abdul. So it was not like recent records. So I was dope. I'm very excited for her to like start playing her records and like learn something else besides like TikTok dances. So
totally. That's so cool though. Like your family seems like they're like raising her like right or whatever they say.
I hope so. I'm like, although she does like her TikTok, I will say like we learned some TikTok dances when I was home.
Yeah.
This weekend, but it was very fun. So
yeah. My niece is 8 and she's like all into the makeup, but like all really into like Johnny Cash. So I feel like we're like on the same boat there.
Right. Oh my God. That's exactly how she is. I feel like she's got like one side of her that's like super trendy, I guess you could say, with what's going on. But then there's this other part of her that like loves Friends and loves like old movies and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, this is so great. So I can see where you're coming from there.
I love that. Okay. So do you have a high-low hero?
Yes. Okay. I'm like, I don't want to be basic and just say like my high is obviously I'm like getting to see my family, especially for me. My dad was super sick in the hospital in the ICU with COVID through pretty much all of October. He was in the hospital for like weeks. And that's the first time I got to see him since he's been out of the hospital. So that was definitely like my high, getting to spend time with my family. I'm like my low. I honestly had a really good week. So I'm like, what?
That's good.
I'm like, what is my low though? Because there's got to be one that I can
traveling.
I'm like, oh, traveling could be a low. I will say actually yesterday, my low is yesterday because my bag took like 2 hours to drop off of the belt. So I'll give that my low.
Okay.
And my hero, randomly, oh my God, I'm going to be so cliche here with sports, but I'm going to pick my Titans. Well, not my Titans, but I picked the Titans to cover the spread and they won outright. So I'm going to give that my unexpected hero, the Titans, because they won me a lot of money. So
okay. So that's actually a perfect transition because you're a football girl. I'm a football girl. So I figured we should make this a football show just because like the season is really getting down to it. The playoff picture is fucking the craziest that I've seen, like the craziest I've seen it in a hot minute. And I think
so too.
Yeah. And I have the Thursday night game last week is the first one we should talk about. So tits 49ers. Do you believe in this Titans team as we sort of, I mean, obviously the division is theirs to lose. We're kind of locking the season down. Derrick Henry potentially back in week 18, although I think that they won't bring him back into the playoffs. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
So I've been saying this like throughout the whole NFL season. I totally believe in the Titans and I think that they're extremely underrated. I feel like I had a very strong feeling that I thought the Titans would win outright. And it obviously started with the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo, and they were hot, like right out the gate. But then things turned around. I didn't get to see the end of the game because I was flying home. But I'm like, I think the Titans are like unexpected. And I like them being like kind of the underdog. Things weren't looking as good for them since they lost Derrick Henry. But I'm like, I know that I believe they had lost 4 of their last 7 or maybe something crazy like that. But now with this win over the 49ers, I like them to come out on top. And I'm feeling confident about them moving forward. I don't think that Henry will come back until the playoffs either. So I don't really see the point. But I like the Titans. I like the Titans more unexpectedly than I thought I would.
Okay, me too. But so I think that this is going to be sort of a theme throughout this show as we're breaking down the playoffs. Obviously, you need to be playing your best football in the month of December.
Right.
Do you think that they are playing their best football right now? Because if you look at the AFC, you got to get through Arrowhead to get to the Super Bowl. So
Correct.
what are you thinking as far as them being able to play their best football right now? I mean, and then I'm going to ask you about their remaining schedule as well, because Miami's obviously really hot and they have them next. And then the Texans away, which the Texans should be an easy dub. And realistically, Miami should be as well.
But you never know. I'm look at the Texans this weekend, huge win. So I of course, I feel like this year of the NFL, like you were saying, the playoff picture is tighter than we've ever seen it. And I also feel like it's harder to really carve out who's legitimate and who's not, because I feel like every week these teams that we deem as the top teams lose to people lose to teams like the Texans. think, like, as much as I'm like, oh, I'm high on the Titans and I think that they're unexpectedly good, I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I also, I'm not very high though on the Chiefs. I know that they obviously, like, they started off really slow to the season and Patrick Mahomes looked like the league had figured him out. Now they've been like crazy, unbelievable, like they were the past couple of years. I don't know though. I'm just like not on the Kansas City like train this year either. Yeah. It's not about it. And all the drama that surrounds Jackson Mahomes, like every week I'm just like roll my eyes at that.
Okay, well then also you have to think about with all of this COVID stuff going on, it's like you have to throw that into the mix too. And it's like I think the Titans will win out. I think Miami's streak ends here. I think that like mathematically they have like a 1% chance to get into the playoffs. Good for Miami though. I have some thoughts about that later in the show. Obviously the Texans should be a win, but the next game I wanted to talk about was Browns Packers. And I think that this whole COVID thing kind of blew up immediately after Baker Mayfield started to call the league out.
Right. Totally true. I'm like, I feel like, well, Browns, I'm like, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm like, I feel like every year they just get so unlucky with something. Yeah. And I'm like, right now, it's their whole COVID situation that they've been like dealing with. And then right before that, you know, they had OBJ leave and go to the Rams. And I just feel like there's always something. And then it's like, is Baker Mayfield terrible? Is he a bust? Or is he like actually getting injured? I don't really even know the answer to that. Yep. I just feel like the Browns are a super unlucky franchise and whatever can go wrong does go wrong for them. Like, it just happens.
Yeah. You basically just took every point I had in my notes. So technically the Browns are still in the hunt. And I think that their division has kind of become the new NFC East as far as just being an absolute dumpster fire down to the wire. But the thing is you can't go 8-8 and make the playoffs anymore. So the Browns are technically still in the hunt. The remaining schedule is Steelers, Bengals. Do we think that they get in?
If I'm going to go based off like record of how things work for the Browns, no. I feel like they don't. And I honestly don't think that those are two easy games. Obviously, the Browns and the Steelers have such a big rivalry as is. So I'm like, that's a huge game for them. And I mean, Bengals and Browns too, like you're both in Ohio. That's a huge rivalry game. The Bengals and Joe Burrow looked really good this past weekend. I feel like the Bengals are another team I never know what I'm going to get with them week to week. Yep. Either they're going to have them really show up or they don't look very good at all. So I feel like it's a very up in the air these last two games for the Browns. And like, if history repeats itself, I don't think they get into the playoffs. I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't make it.
So I have two questions for you before I want to talk about the Packers. Do you think that Baker is a bust?
Oh,
I don't think he's just that hurt.
I don't know. Part of me honestly thinks he's kind of a bust. I don't think he's as good as the pedestal that the Browns organization like built for him to be on. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's ever going to be like a top 5 elite quarterback in the league. I don't want to say he's a bust because compared to look at some of these rookie quarterbacks this season so far. I mean, they look terrible to me. And I'm like, what? Baker's been in the league for how many seasons now? 5? Is it 5? So I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to say bust because I'm looking at some of these young rookie quarterbacks coming in this year. And I'm like, oh, they're way worse than Baker.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want to say bust, but I don't think he's up to the hype and he shouldn't be like portrayed as this hero for the Browns because he's not going to be for Cleveland. Like I just don't think it's going to happen. I feel like they've consecutively always had all the pieces to put things together and it just doesn't work out. So
yep, I agree. That's the thing is I don't know where the Browns have gone wrong because they have all this talent and they have for quite some time. I just think that football hates the city of Cleveland.
I think so too. I just think like literally the NFL just hates Cleveland pretty much.
Yep. I agree. Especially after all that COVID stuff, they really fucked them over on that. But so I have 2 points I want to ask you about the Packers as well. So I have a gut feeling that Aaron Rodgers is going to pull the most Aaron Rodgers move of all time and win the city of Green Bay a Super Bowl and then fucking dip. How do you feel?
100% agree with you. I could totally see him doing that. I mean, his feelings about Green Bay already before the season started were pretty clear. And I'm like, now he's, of course, having this MVP year. And in my opinion, I think the Packers are currently the best team in the league.
I agree with you.
So it's like you see all the success that they're having and how things are going, but I could easily see him being like, oh, won my Super Bowl. I'm on to the next. Like, I'm leaving. I'm done. Would not shock me at all. I feel like that he keeps himself, like, he already is relevant enough because he's such an elite player in the league, but then he makes himself more relevant because there's headlines surrounding him literally every week.
Constantly.
Constantly.
Yeah, I mean, look at the thing with Aaron Andrews.
I'm like, I can't stand him. So
yeah.
Like,
did you see the thing this week about like the socially distanced interview with him and Aaron Andrews?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God. Twitter like blew up. Like, I think it was Monday morning because so Aaron Andrews obviously has been doing like the social distance interviews and stuff all year where they're like 6 feet away or whatever. And then they hugged immediately after and the internet just lost it.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Interesting.
My last question for you about this game is, so right now, obviously the Packers are the Packers because of Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams.
Yes.
What outside of those two, though, makes them so good? Like, I try to figure it out week in and week out. And I'm like, is it just that they're consistent? Like, they're the best team in the NFL, in my opinion, right now, but I don't know why.
I think consistency. I think you're right there. And I just feel like Aaron Rodgers does things that only like Aaron Rodgers can do. Like he gets into these situations, like even the like being from Chicago myself, well, from the Chicago area. I don't like to say Chicago because people will get on you if you say that and you're not from the city. But being like from the Chicago area, I grew up around like the rivalry of the Packers and the Bears. And even a couple weeks ago when they played each other, I mean, the Bears started out on fire and they were leading the Packers. And then it was like, Aaron Rodgers does what Aaron Rodgers does. And like, you don't even, I remember like thinking about that game and I'm like, oh, wow. Like, should I have actually taken the Bears? And I was like, no, there's plenty of time left. And of course, Aaron Rodgers is going to make it happen. Like, there's no point to even worry. Like when he's playing, I just think it's him. Like, and obviously like his team trusts him. Like they trust him and he gets things done.
And he got COVID at the right time. Like, you don't have to worry about him into the postseason now. Honestly, anybody who got COVID in the last 2 weeks, probably for the best.
Safe, right?
I know. Yeah. It's like, that's shitty to say, but it's so true because it's
so true.
This is the time of the season where you can't risk getting sick. So like, honestly, good for Travis Kelce, good for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Like, oh my God. That's so true. I never even really thought about that, but you're so right. Like
I know.
These big name guys that got COVID now, you're going to be okay. Like
they're Gucci
into the playoffs. Yeah.
Yep. So I want to move into one of my favorite games of the week, the Colts Cardinals game. This game was like a huge exposure game, in my opinion, for the Cardinals. I don't know what's going on over there, but I think that I've been kind of shitting on the Colts and Carson Wentz all season because I think that Carson Wentz is just such a fucking dweeb and I don't know how he's like been so successful in the NFL.
You are like preaching to the choir because I always say that too. Carson Wentz, again, being from the Midwest, everybody like, you know, he played at North Dakota and for a smaller school and he had like all this hype going into the NFL. And then it's like, you know, he played for the Eagles and had that whole situation happen with his injury. And then they won a Super Bowl. Like, well, he's not playing and now he's with the Colts. And I don't really like Carson Wentz, but I do think that the Colts really, like you said, exposed the Cardinals this week. Being out here in Arizona, I'm like, we had two of the hottest teams in all of sports, period, right now with the Suns and the Cardinals out here. So the Valley has been like crazy over the Cardinals lately. And then I went to Monday Night Football game, Cardinals Rams, and that was kind of where we've been noticing this like downward spiral. Their biggest problems, like straight up, and I think it's just because I've done a lot of research on them being out here and having to talk about them a lot for work. But I'm like, their defense went ranked from second in DVOA through the first 9 weeks to after week 10, they now rank 15th. Like since then, and when it comes to scoring in the red zone, they're only scoring on 33.3% of their plays. So their offense looks absolutely terrible too. So I'm just like, they're not capitalizing when they need to. And ever since Kyler's come back from injury, he's just like not in a groove like he was before.
Okay, so they somehow still clinched this week, and the potential to get The potential to get JJ Watt back is there. What is there some concern with the losing streak? And I know that Cliff Kingsbury has been catching some heat lately. What do you think about how do you think that the rest of their season could potentially play out?
I think there should be concern about especially if you look at how the Cardinals have followed this exact same pattern over the last 2 seasons. Start out hot, look really good. Then the last 2 years, they missed the playoffs by 1 game and they don't get in. And I will say they are probably, if not in the hardest division in the league, it's up there. They're playing a lot of, difficult teams week to week. And it's not like this week's not going to be a challenge. They're playing my Cowboys, which I'm super excited to see how that game goes.
Yeah.
But I think that getting JJ Watt back, I really don't know if that's going to make even that big of a difference for things. I don't think that Kyler looks the same since his injury. And I think that's probably where the biggest problem is. I'm
okay.
I just don't think they look very good as a whole right now. And I feel like they have the potential, obviously, to recalibrate and figure out what they need to fix before heading into the playoffs. But I don't know. I don't feel great about them heading into the late part of the season right now at all.
Yeah. Okay. So remaining schedule is, like you said, the Cowboys, and then that's away, and then home versus Seattle. I think they bat 500 in the remaining season.
I would like to think they beat the Seahawks, and I think my Cowboys are going to beat them. I especially looking at how the Cowboys looked this weekend.
So good.
I'm if I know everybody, if you're not a Cowboys fan, you're a Cowboys hater pretty much. And I've been born and raised a Cowboys fan my entire life. So I'm used to all the haters. But I'm if you can't look at the Cowboys and say that they are legit contenders, then I don't know what you're doing, because
he is so absurd. He's home alone, and because my roommate's dog isn't here, and he's been so anxious.
That's I have my little dog Coop. I think he's just quiet because he barks a lot, but I'm I think he's just quiet right now because I just got home, so he's on good behavior.
Yeah. Okay, so I quickly have one more thing to touch on for the Colts.
Yes.
Do you think, because right now they're still in.
Right.
And the thing is that as dweeby as Carson Wentz is, I've said this on the show before, he sprained both of his ankles at the same damn time. That's the dweebiest thing to ever happen to anyone. And it's he doesn't have to be great because their run game is so phenomenal.
Their offensive line's unreal. He doesn't have to be great. Yeah.
I tweeted a couple weeks ago and I was the Colts offensive line is so good that it makes Carson Wentz look like an MVP.
It does. He doesn't have to be that good because of all of the other weapons that they have surrounding him. He doesn't have to be the best. He doesn't have to throw for 300 plus yards every game to win. So I think the Colts, they say being hot heading into the playoffs or heading into the end of the season is the best way to be. I mean, look at the Bucs last year.
Yep.
That's exactly how they got going.
Into a wild card.
Right. I don't count the Colts out right now at all. Yeah, I think that things look good for them.
Their remaining schedules, Raiders, Jags. I mean,
right. And I think they could easily win out there.
I agree. I think Jonathan Taylor is a fucking beast. And dude, it's
such a beast.
I hate that because of Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to be an MVP.
Yep.
I hate it.
Ugh. I can't. Aaron Rodgers, maybe it's also because being a Cowboys fan a couple years ago when I can't stand the Packers because I'm from Illinois, and I can't stand the Packers because the Cowboys play them always in the playoffs and we always lose to them. So I'm I just want nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Go away.
Yep. So there were 2 toilet bowl games this week, one of them being Lions at Falcons. I have just a couple of thoughts. I just don't know how the fuck the Falcons are technically still in the hunt here.
I know. I was saying to my dad, I honestly feel like there's more crappy teams in the NFL right now than there are legitimate teams. Because I'm you look at that game and I'm the Falcons are garbage. They're terrible, but they have had some random wins again.
I know.
Over
Same with the Lions.
Right. And I'm so I don't know. I'm just who knows? Yeah, you look at the Lions, they beat the Cardinals 2 weekends ago.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know why the Falcons are still in it, but they are.
Yep.
regardless if they get to the playoffs, they're not going to be a problem for anybody. So
I was just going to say, so Falcons remaining schedule at Bills and then home against the Saints. Obviously there's no really like shot at them making the playoffs. So it's like, if you're them, do you push to win these games, maybe beat the Bills, or do you start looking at draft stock? Because Matt Ryan has a year left in his contract. And do you think that they maybe make one more push with Matt Ryan to like make it to a Super Bowl, spend some cap, make some trades, maybe draft somebody somewhere? Or is that going to depend on Calvin Ridley? Like, do you think that they try and like push right now, or is draft stock more important for them with 1 year left I think Matt Ryan's probably going to retire.
I personally think that draft stock is more important because I don't see, even with them doing some one last push, I don't think Matt Ryan's like the guy who's getting them to the Super Bowl. I just no, I don't see it. I feel like you start the potential rebuild because, like you said, I think Matt Ryan retires too. I think he's done. I think you start rebuilding and looking for the pieces that are going to be like the longevity for your future of the franchise, because
you have young talent.
Right. Like, if you even try to build around like what you have and build up for one last season, I don't see, like, you're not beating out these teams like the Bucs, who are still going to be good, like the Chiefs,
and the Saints,
just like at a ton of teams. Like, you're just still not even close to being on par with like the best teams in the league.
Yeah, because their division's tough. So it's like you have to get past the Bucs, and the Saints have not been healthy whatsoever this year. But next year, they're obviously going to have some health back. But it's like, for me, I think you have to go for the draft stock and start finding the future to throw to Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts.
Yep, I agree. I think so too.
All right, we are moving and grooving, sister. Ravens at Bengals. Like I said, this division has kind of turned into the NFC East dumpster fire division for me. It's been really fun. Currently, the Bengals are in, the Ravens are in the hunt. Harbaugh says no commitment to Lamar Jackson coming back as of, I think, this morning. Remaining schedule for the Ravens is versus the Rams and versus the Steelers. They have both of their last home games both their last games are at home. On a losing streak, do we think they make the playoffs?
I want to say yes, because I have like such a soft spot for Lamar Jackson.
Me too. I love him
since he won the Heisman with Louisville. Like, I've just always loved Lamar Jackson. I just think he seems like such a little sweet being.
The Ravens have my favorite roster.
Same, like one of my favorites too. And I feel like all of the adversity they've faced this year already, with the amount of injuries and still how well they have played, I would love for them to make the playoffs. I would love it. I mean, you saw Lamar Jackson get his first win against Patrick Mahomes this season.
So cute.
Just so many like good things surrounding them, but also so many horrible things that have happened to them. I'd love to see it happen. Do I think it will? I don't think so. Probably not. But I mean, there is a chance.
Yeah.
I would like to see it, but I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, Calais Campbell is one of my favorites, but I agree with you. I don't think so. But the Bengals, same division, are one of the healthiest teams as far as, COVID and actual health-related issues. They will clinch with a win this week against the Chiefs, and then their last game is at Browns. What do we think about the Bengals' potential in the playoffs? Because this division is tight.
Tricky. I don't know, because realistically, with how the Chiefs have looked, I wouldn't pick the Bengals to beat the Chiefs.
I agree.
And then when it comes to the Browns, I think that game's very up in the air. I don't know. So I'm not sure. Like, if they lose both, are they out?
Yeah.
Oh, I think there's possibility that they could lose both. Like,
yeah,
I do think so. I don't know though. Maybe they get it done. I don't like Joe Burrow's not really a guy I trust that much though either.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
I wouldn't really want him to be my quarterback. So I don't know.
So we're both sort of in the betting space. Well, not sort of. We both are in the betting space. I personally am not touching either of these last two games for them.
You could either. I want nothing to do with those. I'm not touching either of those games. Nope. I don't want anything to do with that. If anything, because I mostly specialize in like prop plays anyway. I would look at props, but I am not touching anything when it comes to the spread or money line or anything. I want nothing to do with it.
I am right there with you, sister. Yeah. So the Rams played the Vikings earlier this week. Rams have clinched at least a wild card spot.
Right.
Is this all-star roster as good as people thought it would be? I don't think they're playing the best football that they can at the right time. I really don't trust them. Sean McVay, I don't know what's going on with him and Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford has been throwing interceptions like crazy. I don't know if I'm like sold on this NFL super team or the fact that like Matt Stafford is actually a good quarterback, because I can't decide if he's going to be the Rams Matt Stafford one week or the Lions Matt Stafford.
I don't think Matt Stafford's that good of a quarterback.
No.
Immediately, I remember seeing like the whole Jared Goff, Matt Stafford trade and like thinking like, does McVay think that like Matt Stafford's the answer? Because I hate super teams. And one of the biggest reasons why I've had so much trouble over the years getting really back into the NBA is because I hate how they build super teams.
Yep,
it's
me too.
Favorite thing ever.
Same
and
for me.
It makes it so unentertaining to me. Although this year, right now, you're looking at the Lakers, who are a super team, and they're playing extremely, extremely bad. So I'm loving seeing that. And then you've got
the memes.
My Suns, who are not a powerhouse, like super built team. There's a lot of young guys, and they're second best in the entire league. But besides the point, I don't like super teams. I do not like Odell Beckham. Never have. I do like Cooper Kupp.
I love Cooper Kupp.
I do too.
I didn't know he was married.
Oh, I know. How unfortunate for us. But I do love Cooper Kupp. But like the rest, like the Rams, like you said, they're not playing their best. I do think they are contenders though.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there are
because of their roster. You can't count them out.
Exactly. You can't. And like, when I saw them play against the Cardinals, I was impressed. Like they looked very good, but then you think about when they played them earlier in the year, they looked terrible. And it's like, that was the same team. Like nothing changed. I think the Rams aren't as good as maybe people are saying just because of that roster. But I do feel like when they're clicking. Like they could be anybody, I think, in the league if they're on. So I really think it's going to depend on how they close out the season and what their chemistry looks like heading into the playoffs.
I was just going to say they have Ravens away and then 49ers at home. I think obviously neither of those are like the most statement win. The Ravens are obviously good, but dealing with some injuries and some COVID bullshit. And then the 49ers, we don't really know. Like they're bad, but they're not bad. So it's like, I don't think that either of those are statement wins, but I think that those are confidence boosters.
I think so too. I would agree with you. I don't think either of those are like wow wins, but I think exactly like if they win out, then that gives them confidence heading into the playoffs, and that
could be dangerous.
Yes, exactly.
You give Jalen Ramsey an ounce of confidence and watch out.
Right.
So Bills at Pats, another probably one of my favorite games this weekend. Patriots lose 2 in a row after a 7-game winning streak. I think that this was bound to happen. Pats weren't impressive on either side of the ball for me this weekend. Before Sunday, I think the defense was really impressive. But I think they're going to have to really rely on them for the rest of the season, just because as well as Mac Jones has fit into this team and this system, he's still a rookie quarterback heading into the playoffs in the NFL. And that's my concern for me is that I know that the Patriots have played well. I know that they have Bill Belichick. I know their defense is really good. Obviously James White got hurt, but it's you still have a rookie quarterback going into the playoffs in the NFL. I don't care if he went to Alabama.
I agree with you. I don't it'd be crazy. I've heard a lot of rumors of people being like, oh my gosh, could you imagine, the Bucs playing the Patriots and stuff like that. And of course that'd be really fun to see. I think the Patriots are so much better than I expected.
Me too.
Mac Jones is way better than I expected. I do think, like you said, they came off of a 7-game win streak and now they've lost 2 in a row. And they played a good Bills team. And then who did they lose to last week though?
I was trying to remember that too. I don't remember.
I don't either, but I don't think it was somebody that great. But I'm it was bound to happen that they were going to get a loss here and there. Yeah. But I think overall they look a lot better than I thought. And Mac Jones is definitely the best rookie quarterback in this class, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so far.
I was going for the Patriots to beat the Bills this weekend because I don't know why. I just don't really like the Bills. I don't know. I'm not sold on them. They're another team that people are they are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. And I'm I don't see it. I just don't.
Yeah. Okay.
to week. I don't like them. I'm just not on the high I'm not riding with the Bills like at all.
So I have in our show notes that they remind me of like a shitty hot and cold like boyfriend. I can't decide if they want I can't decide if they want attention or they like me.
Yeah, I know. I'm like one week it's like, whoa, they're unreal. And then it's like the next week, they're like one of those boys that it's like you're in the talking stage for like 5 years. Like you're trying to figure out where things are going forever and you don't know. And like, if you hear all these people and they'll be like, well, the Bills, when they get things together, like they're a contender. I'm like, yeah, when they have it together, it's like what each week you don't know if they're going to have it together or not. I was not mad because Stephon Diggs is on my fantasy team and I'm in the playoffs right now.
Me too.
He did well, but then I also have Damian Harris and he played
me too.
Well dude, oh my God. So I was like, yeah, big weekend. Like that was a huge game for me fantasy wise. And I won.
Me too.
So I'm like heading to the next round. I was like, yeah. But I liked that side of things. So other than that, I'm like the Bills, they're too hot and cold. Just like you said, they're too wishy-washy. You just don't know.
Yep. Okay. So same division, obviously. Pats remaining schedule could not be easier. It's against the Jags and the Red Hot Dolphins, whatever people want to call it. And then the Bills are home against the Falcons and then at the Jets. So this is probably the most chaotic division in my opinion, just because like as much as we don't want to, like as much as you and I think that they are hot and cold, I still do think that if they have some sort of chemistry spark, we could see them take off. So I think that they have to both win out, obviously, because or their confidence.
So I would agree with you, especially like you're saying Mac Jones going into the NFL playoffs as a rookie quarterback. I think you win out because he needs the confidence boost, especially because even if they lose one, then they lost 3 of their last 4. Like that's not looking great.
And if you lose to the Jags or the Dolphins, like
come on. Mm-hmm. Although I always think right now that the Dolphins and the Pats are an interesting matchup because Jones right now, both being Alabama quarterbacks. I think it's fun to see. And I'm like kind of high on the Dolphins because I like really love Tua and
Me too.
Feel like
Jalen Waddle.
Yes. I feel like the franchise really, Miami makes me mad because I felt like there was always these rumors throughout the whole year and even before the season about like, well, we need somebody who's going to back up Tua or we're going to get Deshaun Watson and get rid of Tua. I'm like, he hasn't even had a chance. Like if I were him, I'd be like, I'm going to show this entire city, this whole franchise, management, everybody, like the front office, how good I actually am. And they can all F off. Like,
yeah,
because I just don't feel like he even got a legitimate chance. And now they're really hot right now. Things look good for them. And I just like Tua and I just like want him to do well.
Yeah. Well, and it's like the Patriots historically don't play well in Miami. So that helps. But also when Tua said that he didn't feel wanted by his team, that broke my heart. And
I don't blame him. I'm like, I do not blame him. Yeah.
Nope. And no team has ever lost their first 7 to win 7 straight. So, I mean, they're hot. If they ride it, good for them. If not, here we go. So I think that is the game that they are more likely to lose just because they don't play well in Miami. It's divisional game, all those sorts of things. But speaking of the Jags, I have a couple comments here because obviously I am a Jags fan. I just want to say, fuck Zach Wilson. Like, how the hell did we make him look like Michael Vick and have like a franchise high run for a quarterback for a touchdown, his career high 52-yard touchdown? Like, are you fucking shitting me? It's Zach Wilson.
I agree. I'm like, Zach Wilson is not great either. I think I saw combine him and Trevor Lawrence have like six wins and like 22 losses or something like that. Like,
insane.
Not a good look for either team. I just think like the Jags are, I'm sorry.
They're oh my God, give it to me.
They're worse.
Oh, I know.
They're the worst.
Oh my God.
Like,
yeah.
They're the worst. The Lions are better than them in my opinion. Like everybody. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm interested to hear from you. Like I was just looking at right before we started, they're talking about who they want to bring in for interviews. Like, who do you want them to get as a head coach or who do you think they will get?
Okay, so I went on a 24-minute rampage in our last episode about who I want for head coach. I don't think that they're going to interview anyone that I want. I think it's going to wind up being Doug Peterson. I kind of wanted the offensive coordinator from the Cowboys.
No, exactly. Kellen Moore. I'm like, you're not taking him from me.
Or I know Kellen Moore's the man. No. I mean, Josh McDaniels would be awesome, but he's obviously not going to leave here because he's in line for the throne. Byron Leftwich, I understand why people want him, but I do think we're going to wind up getting Doug Peterson. But Jags Twitter has been on absolute fucking fire today because so our owner announced that he's going to keep our GM yesterday, reported by Rappaport. And there is literally, Jacksonville has scheduled a protest for our last home game to get this man fired.
Are you serious?
All of Jags Twitter, including myself, changed our Twitter avatars to the clown emoji, but Photoshop with Shad Khan's mustache on it today. Wait. All of Jags Twitter. I'm not kidding. Everything of mine is just the freaking
that's clown. Kind of amazing, though.
I know.
That the fan base is like, hey, at least even when you guys are losing, you guys are all still together. And like you're still all like wanting to, you're still invested. That's important.
We are are you kidding me?
Like you're like literally everything.
I know. And so it's awesome. Like, I feel really good to be a part of this, as like shitty as that news is for me. So I don't know. I hate what Shad Khan is doing right now, but I feel honored to be a part of Jags Twitter. I think that like it's just really funny, and I hope that this like protest works out.
Totally.
And even though we have the first pick again, like whatever. Giants at Eagles. The Eagles are still in the playoff conversation. They do not scare me at all. Their remaining schedule is at Washington and then against the Cowboys. And the Giants are just so bad. And that's all I literally have to say about this game.
I agree. I have nothing to say about either of those teams because I can't stand either of them being a Cowboys fan. So, and they don't scare me at all either.
Yeah. Okay.
No, not at all.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. So Bucks at Panthers. How the fuck is Tom Brady still doing this?
He's just something. He's a freak of nature. He is just unreal. And I'm like, that game too, that was a major blowout. So, I mean, they look good as expected, as advertised. Like, I just always expect the Bucks to be good.
Here's my concern. So injury, Godwin out for the season, Evans day-to-day, Levante David and Fournette are on IR, could return for the playoffs. The remaining schedules, Jets and Panthers. So like,
and you have all the Antonio Brown drama going on right now too.
So much. And Tom Brady has not had COVID.
Oh God. Knock on wood for the Bucks fans out there. I'm actually going to, for work, I'm going to Bucks. Who do they play? It's week 18 of the schedule. Panthers. I don't even know. But Panthers. I'm going to I'll be at Bucks
Panthers. That's what it is.
Panthers. I'll be at Bucks Panthers for work. So I'm like excited because it's my first time seeing Brady play in person. So fingers crossed I see Brady play.
Also, like, their backup is Blaine Gabbert. So
I know,
good luck.
I know. I'm like, I really hope that that's not the case, because some people have been like, oh, well, Brady might not play anyway, because it's like heading into the playoffs, like, why would they have him play if, things are good to go? But I'm like, maybe just one snap. Like,
Tom, get COVID now. Tom, get COVID now.
Seriously. Oh.
My last question for you about this game is Cam Newton's career over?
Okay, so I love Cam. Always have. I've got a Cam Panthers jersey that I got his MVP year. I don't know why either, because like my favorite quarterback probably in the NFL person wise, and I shouldn't say, it's not like I know them personally, but like from personality, I love Russell Wilson, and him and Cam Newton are like polar opposites, but I've always liked Cam like a lot too. I still do. It's so sad to see he like came back and had that one great game, and now he's just been absolutely terrible. And I'm like, how did you go from being an MVP quarterback going to the Super Bowl with the Panthers to now on this downward trash spiral that you can't seem to like dig yourself out of this hole? I don't want to say he's done.
It's over. It's over.
I think it is.
It's over. It's over.
I don't
R.I.P. and peace.
My jersey going in the garbage. No, I'm kidding. I'll keep the jersey, but I probably won't have much use out of it anymore.
Scam Newton. So Chargers at Texans. Chargers got upset out of the playoffs, or at least a significant drop off at their chances to be. I don't have a ton to say other than the fact that I don't think Chargers fans should be too sad. They got better. They have a franchise quarterback. They're close. It's just not their year.
I agree. I will say, I think I was expecting a little more out of them this year than what I saw. Things looked good at the beginning. Now I see they think they're realizing they have some gaps that they need to fill and things that they need to improve on. So I'm like, I was kind of expecting them to be a tad bit better than they were. Herbert did not look good this weekend at all. So I expected them to be better than they were, but I also didn't expect them to go to the Super Bowl either. So that's my take.
There you go. All right, Bears at Seahawks. I have to say congrats on the win. I want to know your thoughts on the game. And at this point, do you want to win or do you want better draft picks?
God, I'm so glad I'm not a Bears fan, honestly. But like a lot of people in my family obviously are.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You have to sort of like root for the Bears.
Oh, I definitely have like a fandom towards it. Like if I'm not going to be cheering for the Cowboys, I'm cheering for the Bears.
Yep.
Like they're my hometown team. They're garbage. Bears fan base is scary also. Like they go after, like Matt Nagy needs to be gone after.
Okay, that was anher question of mine.
No way. Like he needs to go. Also, all of Twitter thinks that my dad is Matt Nagy because everybody thinks my dad looks like Matt Nagy. I like post a picture and every response is like, I didn't know your dad was Matt Nagy. Are you related to Matt Nagy? Your dad's twins with Matt Nagy. I'm like, all right, my dad does kind of look like Matt Nagy. I never realized it, but he does. He can go. They've got a lot of work to do. I wish that we could I wish the Bears could just get better. It was an exciting win because I do think there are glimpses of like positive things for the Bears, like seeing them beat, Russell Wilson and the Seahawks this week was nice. Not that it matters or counts for anything because it doesn't. I think they have like the right pieces potentially. And I say potentially because I just don't know what we have with Fields yet. But I think they could be on the right track. I think a win like that is positive. I feel like the way they played against the Packers 2 weeks ago, although they lost, semi-positive, like things looked decent. And then there was that game against the Rams where they came back, they lost, I think by a field goal. But like there have been some positive notes through the season, as terrible as they've looked. I think there are positives that they could take away. I don't know. I think Matt Nagy going is probably the biggest thing that Chicago wants to see. Yeah, I think he's got but him and Andy Dalton like have something like that he likes him like
weird.
Too much.
So weird.
I don't get it. So I think that getting rid of him is like the step in the right direction for the Bears. The Seahawks, on the other hand, I think Russell Wilson's out. I think he's going somewhere else.
Okay, so that was my last comment about this game before we get into Steelers Chiefs. I have a gut feeling, and this is actually insane, okay?
Bears? Is that what you're going to say? Oh,
Russell,
I had a Bears feeling.
Russell is going back to Wisconsin, and he is going to quarterback for the Packers.
Oh, I could see that. Ooh, that would be cool. Oh, I
have chills. Wouldn't that be awesome?
It would be awesome.
Sierra would be pissed.
That would be awesome.
Sierra would be
I could
so
see him potentially going to the Bears though too. And I only say that because he was in very high talks in the offseason this year, and he wanted to, like, there were talks that he would want to go to Chicago. And every quarterback, I will say, that like plays for the Bears. I don't know if you've ever been to Chicago, but everybody loves Chicago. Is such a awesome city.
It's a cool city.
Everybody talks about the crime rate right now and everything that's going on. There are a lot of things that are going on, but like as a whole, it's a great city and athletes love living there. So
Chicago's awesome.
He has definitely said that he would like to live in Chicago. So I'm like, I don't know though now with them getting Fields and getting I don't see it, probably won't happen, but
2 or 3 year deal to the Packers. Sign it.
All right. I'm gonna come back to you if that happens. I'm gonna be like psychic.
Yeah. Okay. So I know you don't have much time. I'll just have you comment on a couple more games, then I can close out by myself because I know you got to run. Steelers at Chiefs. I hope Ben loses out every game for the rest of his career. Last 2 games, I hope he loses.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Chiefs, he can go.
Chiefs are my Super Bowl. Chiefs and Packers are my 2 right now. Especially
are they?
Yeah. Because they're going to get home field advantage. So how confident are you in the Chiefs right now? The remaining schedule for them is at Bengals and then home against the Broncos to close it out.
I'm confident for them to win out. I'm not confident for them to go to the Super Bowl. And I think my biggest reasoning is they've had a lot of off-season drama, most of it surrounding Jackson Mahomes. And I feel like at the beginning of the year, in a way that kind of rattled Patrick a little bit because there was something every week that he was doing and then they were losing. And I'm like, by now I'm like, dude, why are you not talking to your little brother and being like, you're not coming to these away games with me. You need to get a handle on your stuff. Stop riding on my coattails of my success and my talents to have your TikTok career. I'm over him. Like, I don't like him. Jackson Mahomes can go. I don't see them going to the Super Bowl because although they're hot, I just don't see the overwhelming domination that I've seen in years past from them is my thing. I feel like even, games where they have won, they've been a lot closer than like I expected and things like that. So I don't know. I feel like it's time for like new blood to get in the mix. And by new blood, I mean, I feel like there's going to be a playoff team that we're counting out too early that's like going to show up and be a lot better and maybe like pull through more than we expected. My Cowboys. That's what I would love that. I'm hoping for. I'm like, I feel like a lot of people are still down on the Cowboys and I'm just like, I don't see how at this point. So
they're playing good football. Good football.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's how I feel about the Chiefs though. They're playing good football. My only biggest piece of advice, Patrick Mahomes, get COVID.
Get COVID now. Get COVID now. I'm like, same with Dak. Get COVID now. I'm like,
get COVID.
The Cowboys have been relatively lucky with COVID besides Amari Cooper. So we'll be good there. And CeeDee Lamb. So our like receiver core is good. But I mean, Dak hasn't had it. And either of our like Pollard and Zeke haven't had it. And Zeke had a great game this past weekend, which I think he needed and we needed to see because our run game hadn't looked the best lately. And Dak, even though we've been winning, Dak hasn't necessarily looked the best since his whole injury and them not letting him play against the Vikings. So I'm very confident and happy with how things looked this past weekend because that was just an outright like blowout. Like things looked, and even I was like, even our C squad was like beating up on Washington. So I feel like the Cowboys are like a dark horse that people are.
Yeah, that was the next. Yeah, that was the next game on my list. I was going to say the Cowboys are legit. Like, I'm ready to say it. I think they finally found some chemistry. They're playing good football through the toughest part of the season. My concern is that they might have to play the Packers. What are your concerns? You said maybe the run game.
That's my concern. I'm like, my concern is the Packers because like I said earlier, Aaron Rodgers figures things out when nobody else can. And he always gets things done. And I'm like, I've didn't live through. Everybody's like, oh, the Cowboys have won so many Super Bowls. I'm like, I was not born / was like one when that was happening. So like as a new era Cowboys fan, I've never witnessed them being that good. So I don't have all of that, like, all of those great memories to like lean back on. I'm like, most of my memories have to do with the Cowboys choking in the first round of the playoffs to the Packers every single time. Yeah. I'm like, I remember years ago when there was the whole controversy with Des Bryant making the catch. Was it a catch? Was it not a catch? It was a catch. But, it didn't get deemed as a catch. So I'm just like, I think that the Packers are going to be our biggest hump to get over per usual. But I'm more confident in the Cowboys making it happen this year than any year in the past. So
all right. Sister, if they make the playoffs and then make it to the Super Bowl, I better get you either have to go to the game or I want a live stream of you watching the Super Bowl.
Oh, if the Cowboys go to the Super Bowl, I'm going to do my darn best to get to the Super Bowl. I will do my best for sure.
That's fantastic. Okay, one last game to talk about before I ask you for your Super Bowl predictions. So Dolphins at Saints. We touched on the Dolphins a little bit already. Lost their first 7, won the last 7. Jalen Waddle is the future as far as the best wide receivers in the league, in my opinion. Happy for Tua as well, like we said.
Yes.
I don't think that either of these teams are going to make the playoffs. Their chances are just so low. And the fact that the Saints are just so low on quarterbacks, they signed Blake Bortles. I don't feel confident in either of these teams, but do you have any other comments to add?
No, not really. I would agree with you on everything you said. Dolphins. Who are they playing again? I totally missed.
They have. I don't remember who they have. I know I wrote down who the Saints have. They have Panthers, Falcons, but I did not write down. Dolphins do play the Patriots, but I don't.
Oh yes, we said that.
They play them week 18.
Saints. I think Saints have too much going on, like you said. They've been dealt with a lot of injuries this season too. Like a ton. I don't see anything great for them. I feel like they have potential for next season.
Totally.
Yeah, I think they start looking forward to next season more than anything.
Got to get a quarterback. Jameis.
Jameis Winston isn't like your franchise guy.
Not a QB1.
No,
not a QB1.
He's a good backup.
He's a great backup.
And then it's like you look at their backup. In Simeon, it's like he's like a good backup.
And Taysom Hill.
They just don't have like the solid quarterback that they need. And then I heard rumor this week that like they've been talking to Drew Brees about coming out of retirement. He was like,
no, he's too good on TV.
Yeah, I'm like, Drew Brees is not coming out of retirement, guys. Give it up. Give it up.
Yep. Okay. And then my last question for you. Super Bowl predictions, AFC, NFC, who's in and what's your score? Who's your winner?
Oh my God. See, I'm like, do I say Cowboys because they're my team? So I feel like I have to say them. But then I'm like, you know what they say, like never bet on your team. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't pick them. I think I'm going to, for the sake of that. Okay. In my heart, I want it to be the Cowboys.
Say it with your chest. Who do you want? Who's doing it?
I want the Cowboys, but I think oh my God, I don't want to say this, but I feel like it could be the Packers. On the NFC side, if I'm looking at AFC, I don't know. Part of me wants to say the Patriots. Like, I think that they could be like the sneaky team that I was talking about. Like, I don't count Bill Belichick out for a second, and I think I might go with the Patriots.
Okay, Packers, Patriots, who's winning? What's your score?
Packers. I'm picking Packers to win.
Okay.
I think that Mac Jones could go to the Super Bowl as a rookie quarterback, and that would be a feat in and of itself. So. All
right. What's your score? And I'll let you go.
Oh, my score? Oh, God. I feel like if those two teams are playing, I almost think it'd be Patriots have a great defense. So, oh God, I could see something like 17, like 24 or something like that. Not Packers over the Patriots. That's what I'm going to say.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us this week and filling in for Sarah. Really appreciate your input. Where can people find you and all your work?
Yes, you can. I just got a new job. So I'm working at Superbook. Thank you. Superbook Sportsbook. So that is my new full-time gig, hosting, reporting, and doing content. And you can find me though on Twitter at tmath11792 and Instagram is Shy Sports Chick. And check out Superbook if you haven't.
Heck yeah. Well, thanks for joining. Really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was fun.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to pretty much our entire show with Taylor Mathis. She actually had to go because she is covering that bowl game, like she said. So I'm just going to finish out our show as usual, just by myself. So what I'm excited for this week, we just kind of boiled down the playoff picture, all the games from last week. This week, Chiefs at Bengals is definitely at the top of my list. Dolphins at Titans, just because the Dolphins are, still riding that hot hand. And the Titans, as good as I think they are, I'm just not sold on the fact that they're great. So I'm excited for that game as well. Raiders at Colts, just because, this could make things exciting. Eagles at Washington, also exciting. Rams at Ravens really could shake things up. And then Cards at Cowboys. Those are the games that I'm excited for this week. I think that you probably could have guessed that. Pop culture shit of the week. I just wanted to quickly talk about how the Michigan football team got its booster vaccine together ahead of bowl season. I'm surprised that more teams haven't done this. Taylor and I just talked about how many teams have been affected by COVID, and we keep seeing all of these bowl games get canceled, NHL games get canceled or rescheduled or postponed or all of these sorts of things. So it's very serious. And I think that if teams do have outbreaks, especially because we're after the holidays, with the travel and seeing your family. And I mean, even if you're not seeing your family, you know, these are still young kids. Like this isn't like the easiest time to be, 20 something and have basically a full-time job as a pro athlete, pretty much, because that's all you do. You live, sleep, eat, breathe football. And as much as I know that people are focused, like this is a very real thing. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'm surprised more teams haven't done it. So I have that as my pop culture shit of the week, as not pop culture as that is, I guess. Tea party segment. I wanted to ask you guys' opinion, because this has kind of been what has been popular in the media, especially up here in New England. If you are a New England based listener, a reporter after the Patriots lost this week asked Bill Belichick, football aside, if he has any New Year's resolutions. And the argument has been sort of, did this woman's boss make her do this, or was it just poor journalism? As a journalist, I am hoping that this woman's boss really pressed her to do this, because if not, that is the poorest journalism that has ever poor journalism. I don't know what I just said, but that's how I feel. Like, I just, as a journalist, I can't imagine asking a coach that. And it's like, I can't even imagine asking like the college hockey coaches or college football coaches that I cover something like that after a loss, let alone the Patriots and like the caliber of journalism that is. So I'm curious what other people's thoughts are here, just because you can only argue with yourself so much about this. But I'm hoping that it was like something that her boss made her do, because she did acknowledge that it was outside of football. I have a couple tweets of the week this week that I thought were really funny. My first favorite tweet of the week comes from the one and only Mr. Bussin himself, Anthony the Red Sox fan. He tweeted that Sarah was more bussin' than all forms of transportation last week. And I think that that's my favorite thing I have ever seen on Twitter. Shout out Anthony, the Red Sox fan. You are a real one. Another favorite thing that happened to me last week, Matt Rambo slid in my DM. Shout out Matt Rambo, friend of the pod, and said that I should be the new Jaguars coach, as he now lives in Jacksonville. That was very flattering. I don't think that I would be very good at it, as much as I love the Jags. That's obviously, you can make all these jokes and stuff about, who should be the head coach or whatever. But I just thought that was really funny. Shout out Matt Rambo. We have some exciting news actually coming in regards to where we are traveling. If you follow us on Twitter when Sarah gets back, if that helps you with a hint at all. I have one more favorite internet thing this week, and that was Joe Burrow saying that the team hasn't gotten COVID just because there's nothing to do in Cincinnati. I don't know how many people saw that, but I thought that was really funny and very true. Joe Burrow, if you are bored in Cincinnati, hit up your girl. I could make it a little bit more spicy, like hit me up. Take me out to dinner. So I think that is all I have for you guys this week. Once again, thank you to Taylor for joining the podcast. Thank you so much if you are still listening. Sorry that this was a little bit of a weird week. Sarah is still recovering from her concussion. She should be cleared to go next week. If not, we will probably have another guest on. So I will be at Jags Patriots. If you are listening to this before Sunday, come find me. Let's take a selfie. Let's take a picture. The Jags are going to get their ass beat. I can't wait. So yeah, don't be a stranger. Hit me up on Twitter about the game if you are going, if you are just a fan watching at home. Love you guys so much. Keep on sipping, y'all, and we will see you next week.